All right, today we're jumping into something pretty wild. It's a story from the Macy Afterlife Beacon website, and it's a version of our ancient past that doesn't just tweak the history books, it throws them right out the window. So, what if the story of humanity didn't start a few thousand years ago, or even a few 100,000, but billions of years ago? I mean, really think about that for a second. In this explainer, we're going to unpack a timeline, pieced together from the website's unique account, that totally challenges everything we think we know about where we came from. Okay, so you're probably asking, where in the world does a story like this even come from? Well, according to the Macy Afterlife Beacon website, it all rests on two, let's say, unusual pillars. First, you have messages they claim are coming from the spirit world. And second, you have these really controversial physical artifacts, the kind of stuff mainstream science usually just brushes aside. Now, that first pillar, the spiritual messages, is based on this core concept the Beacon website calls instrumental transcommunication, or ITC for short. So what is that? It's basically the idea of using regular technology, things like radios and computers, to actually communicate with beings that aren't physical. This includes a specific group they call the Seven, and you really have to grasp this idea because it's the foundation for almost everything we're about to get into. So, let's start at the beginning. And this beginning, it isn't on Earth. No, the story kicks off on a long-lost planet, a kind of paradise world that was supposedly right here in our very own solar system. Okay, so according to the narrative on the Beacon website, here's how it went down. Way, way back, after our solar system got its start, a planet they call Eden formed, right between Mars and Jupiter. And this wasn't just some rock. It was home to a race of superhumans, the Edenites. The source material says they literally materialized from spiritual realms. And they weren't content to just hang out on their homeworld. Nope. They came here and set up a colony on a very, very young Earth. But you know how these stories go. This golden age, this incredible time with a solar system literally buzzing with life, it all came crashing down. We're talking about a catastrophic event that didn't just destroy a planet, it completely reshaped our entire cosmic neighborhood. 4 billion. Let that number sink in. 4 billion years ago. That's the date the Macy Afterlife Beacon website gives for when the planet Eden was completely destroyed in a massive, massive explosion. And get this, the cause wasn't some random asteroid or a stray star. It was their own technology. Their incredible, advanced tech just went haywire, catastrophically so. So what happened to all the pieces? Well, the website's narrative claims that the debris from this gigantic explosion is what formed the asteroid belt we see today, right there between Mars and Jupiter. And those colonists, the ones who were stationed here on Earth, well, they were suddenly all alone, instant castaways, marooned, and the absolute last of their kind. Okay, I know what you're thinking. If something this huge happened billions of years ago, where's the proof, right? Well, the source material points to a whole series of really controversial physical objects, things that mainstream science tends to write off as potential evidence for this incredibly ancient human presence. Let's take a look at a few of them. First up, we've got these little metallic spheres found deep in South African mines. The website points out that they were discovered in rock layers dated to 2.8 billion years old. Now, geologists have theories about how they could have formed naturally, but just look at them. Their shape is so perfect, and those grooves around the middle, they just look manufactured. They look artificial. Then there's this fossil from Utah. This thing is dated to 600 million years ago. And what's so bizarre, what makes it so famous, is that it looks, for all the world, like a shoe print, a modern sandal or boot print, crushing a little creature called a trilobite, which, by the way, died out hundreds of millions of years before humans were ever supposed to be on the scene. The Beacon website's narrative also brings up these discoveries from Pennsylvania. What you're seeing are what appear to be petrified human-like bones, found stuck right inside veins of coal. And this isn't just any coal, it's anthracite, which formed about 280 million years ago. I mean, if that's real, that puts humans way, way back in the Carboniferous period. And then you've got maybe the most famous of all these anomalies, the Ica stones from Peru. The website talks about how there are thousands of these things, all etched with these incredibly detailed carvings. And the carvings show, well, they show people interacting with dinosaurs. They show them using telescopes, performing what looks like complex surgery, all supposedly from 65 million years ago. It's just wild. Okay, so after the age of dinosaurs ends, the story presented on the Beacon website starts to shift. It moves away from these scattered, out-of-place artifacts and into a more complete, cohesive narrative. And it's a story that ties directly into one of the biggest legends of all time, the lost city of Atlantis. So, in one of those ITC contacts we talked about, a being who called itself Fifrin apparently described this period as a huge struggle. It said that the descendants of those original Edenites, who were now ruling Earth, had to fight against these giant creatures. Monsters, he called them, who just wouldn't bow to their intelligence. It was a full-on battle for who would dominate the planet. So who exactly were these rulers? Well, the source material gives them a name you'll definitely recognize from Greek mythology, the Titans. But in this version of the story, they aren't just myths. They're described as the actual, literal, superhuman descendants of those original Edenite survivors. And they were the ones who built and ruled the incredible civilization we know as Atlantis. This is where the Macy Afterlife Beacon website offers a really different take on the fall of man. You know, the story from the Bible? Well, in this telling, it has nothing to do with a garden, a snake, or an apple. No, the fall was a literal physical event, the destruction of Atlantis. And it was a catastrophe brought on by the Titans' own hubris, their blind faith in a powerful technology that in the end completely wiped them out. So let's step back for a second. We've gone from an exploded planet to out-of-place artifacts to Atlantis. What does this massive alternative history actually add up to? What's the main takeaway from this incredible story presented by the Macy Afterlife Beacon website? Basically, the whole narrative paints a picture of humanity as an ancient extraterrestrial colony that got stranded here on Earth 4 billion years ago. And all of our biggest, most enduring myths, things like Atlantis or the fall of man, aren't just stories. They're actually scrambled, distorted memories of a real technological past. And those weird artifacts we looked at, they're the breadcrumbs, the little hints of this secret history that have been lying around all this time. Now, the Macy Afterlife Beacon website presents all of this as a factual account, a true history passed down from these otherworldly sources. And that leaves us with a really provocative question, doesn't it? Is this all just incredible science fiction, a kind of modern myth for our technological age? Or could it be something more? Could these be clues to a history of our own planet that is so much bigger, so much stranger than we ever imagined? A history we haven't even begun to scratch the surface of.